Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Dog Walk, the almost daily show, uncut, unedited, one take, where I take these girls out and discuss whatever's been on my mind that day, and during which I tend to ramble on so much that maybe I get to talk about 50% of what I wanted to talk about 25% of the time. Case in point, last episode, rookie mistake, I ran out of battery while filming. So I'm not quite sure exactly where the recording cut off. Hopefully I won't have missed too much. But that video was the third in the latest series of videos where I discuss a little bit about how I think humans should live in the future, which included a more longer term vision and concern for people as opposed to concern for immediate pleasure gain circumstances, along with a few possible modifications to democracy. And before you all flame me, I do have some caveats to put to what I had said on that one. I've talked a little bit more about, especially about the vote, how had I put it, vote ratios, I'll say, or vote weights per qualification of persons. Anyway, I'll discuss that in the summary video. The third episode, last one, I was discussing economy. Actually, that was the fourth one, because the third one I had discussed kind of the end state utopian economy, and in the previous episode I had been discussing a few things that need to happen, or a few ways how we could possibly get there. The last point that I had mentioned during that video, and that I hope that I did record and was captured, was about a sort of a trickle down technological arrangement that would actually work, as opposed to the current corrupt, quote unquote, trickle down economy, which doesn't actually work. So why would this work? Well, again, there were a lot of other prerequisites, mostly that people need to mature a little bit. Please watch that video if you haven't, otherwise this won't really make sense. You'll wonder how I can jump to what I'm saying now today. And there were a few other prerequisites, such as the government's putting in the right policies, and the power holders, or the rich people, basically being willing to cede a little bit of their excess wealth, to forego a little bit of their greed for the benefit of all of mankind. Which, hey, if we were doing nowadays, I still fully believe we would be able to at least feed, if not house, pretty much everyone on the planet. But unfortunately, greed still prevails for now, and with Generation Alpha coming, I'm not sure that's going to change, but maybe our AI overlords will force us to change. Anyway, to get back to the kind of how we get to this utopian economy, I'll just speak of a few other points that I wanted to talk about during the last video before my battery ran out. Where are you going, girls? Ooh. So, oh yeah, I should mention before I get into that, I think it was last video or the one before, I mentioned I finally got my first like and subscriber. Well, today I saw my first comment ever on one of my videos, so yay. Anyway, now let's get to the good stuff. So, as I was saying, there were, oh, sorry, Daisy's stuck. There you go. Okay, let's go this way, girls. Let's take the normal route. I feel I might be talking for a little bit. So, in order to get there to this trickle down technological methodology, I guess, there's all the prerequisites I had mentioned earlier and all those conditions, but also at a certain point, instead of creating e-waste like we are currently doing every 2 years when we replace our phones and any other devices that we change, whether it's your dishwasher or anything complex. Girls, do you want to run in the snow? It's been a while since we've done that. Yeah, so those things, posh people, rich people, will always want the fancy new one, right? The new model. I guess we'll walk. So, those people, for now, will continue to buy the latest and greatest whenever they can. Will continue to replace their washer and dryer or their car or whatever it is every so often because they have the means to do it and it's kind of part of their DNA. Remember in the previous episode I had mentioned we can't just transition to a no money, no resource economy from nothing, because even if one country tries to do it, the rest of the world won't have transitioned yet, and I don't think we're going to reach world government anytime soon. Anyway, I'll pause here for a second because Mr. just did some business, and I'll be right back. And we're back. We're going to turn around for a second, girls, because the only bin nearby is this way. So the posh people or rich people will continue to buy things, and rich countries will continue to buy the latest and greatest, but instead of throwing out and wasting all the items that those people will be getting rid of, how about we just create a list and hand it down to everyone in numerical order so that everyone will eventually get a cell phone. It likely won't be the latest and greatest, but everyone will get a free cell phone or a free washer and dryer, etc., and things will just get cycled through. Again, this will need to be managed by the government. And girls, we're gonna turn back. We're gonna go back this way. And it would be managed through kind of the same way as the government can manage income taxes and all that, as I had mentioned, right? One of the enablers would be the government creating farms and changing their subsidies to everyone who's going to lose their job, because almost every human will eventually lose their job because of AI. So the government can start to provide food that it will grow for very cheap, quote unquote, as it's only seeds and energy that will be produced locally and operated by robots that are free to operate, because they will be everything will be local. Anyway, I talked about it all in the other video. I don't want to rehash everything I had said. So since the government will be giving food and lodging basic necessities to people as opposed to money, they'll be able to invest the rest of their money into procuring other resources, advancing technology, long-term stuff, right? And will also continue to manage then these waste products. That'll be, again, just a transition. And remember, if you don't have a job and you're living off the government, maybe it's fine that you don't have a Ford F-150 or a Porsche or a Mustang. Maybe it's okay that you have a Corolla from 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Not to diss on any of those brands or anything like that. Just trying to illustrate a point. So don't look the gift horse in the mouth, as they say, and it's better than nothing. That will also allow you, as a person who receives that free cell phone, to be able to then, once you are done with it, have these raw materials that can be used in conjunction with your 3D printer once that technology arrives. And you can do it yourself, or in the meantime, at the government center, where you will get an allotment of X amount of time of use of the 3D printer per period, or upon request, or whatever it is, right? But you'll be able to reuse those materials, the silver that was in the conductor, or the lithium that was in the battery, or whatever it is, right? To then, along with new blueprints, which is the next point I was going to get to, create a newer, better version of whatever you need or whatever you're replacing. So how do we get to that point? Because that seems like a big leap, I'm sure. Sorry, pardon my leg tangle. The girls are getting tangled. Well, I truly believe that, again, the rich people, just like basic cell phone, anyone who remembers the 80s remembers those big gray bricks or car phones, right? The initial computers, all that. New technology is always subsidized or financed by early adopters. There's many videos about this on YouTube. I won't rehash that. But the point is that these people who, quote unquote, still have money and are willing to pay to get the new stuff will continue to finance and fund innovation and progress. At a certain point, we should reach a point in the technologically where, as I said, it will be possible to 3D print using different elements or different materials at high enough of a resolution of printing that either at the end goal is everyone personally by themselves, but the first step would be at a government facility, as I mentioned, or at a commercial service. But I would rather see it in a free manner to keep in fairness with all humans who, again, will be getting replaced by AI and losing their jobs and have no income. It's not going to be the exception. It's going to be almost everyone. So, sorry, meandering, repeating myself. It's one of those days. The humans will be able to 3D print basically whatever they need. They might not be able to print the latest generation, to put it in, let's say, in phone terms. They won't be able to 3D print the Samsung Galaxy Ultra S24 now, because the chips are, the chipset is nanometers smaller than the previous generation, or you know what I mean, better technology. But they'll be able to print, let's say the S22 Ultra at home or in the government facility for free. And that's pretty... Sorry, the girls are not cooperating. So that's how everyone basically will be able to meet all their needs past that initial transition period of the government furnishing mostly just food and shelter, to being able to yourself 3D print whatever you need because you'll have the materials to do it, and you will have gotten an allocation of the raw materials required through these government hand-me-down programs that I have mentioned. And eventually it could even be just the government will buy and provide X amount of whatever raw material is required to each one of its citizens as part of the government subsidized income, right? As opposed to giving money. So instead of getting money, you'll get, an ounce of silver for that year, and half an ounce of gold, and half an ounce of platinum, and then you have all the catalysts that you need, or in precious metals that you need, in order to make the equivalent of a cell phone and 2 TVs, or right. These numbers don't matter. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna move on from this topic because I feel like I'm just talking in circles, to say that all this will lead us, after that first physical hand-me-down, I guess, and transition period. I think that the next transition will be to a point where what actually is valuable, once everyone can 3D print at home and all that, will become patents and blueprints, right? So once everyone can just produce whatever they need themselves, and there's no need to ship your phone halfway across the world, or same thing for the bananas that you're eating, or Mistra, come on. Oops, another donation from Mistra. Once you can do all that yourself, really what becomes enabler or required is the actual pattern, right? The blueprint. So I see the economy shifting towards a system where, originally I was thinking patents, because really the patents are going to be what enable you to create the blueprints. But really, from the end consumer point of view, you don't really care about the patent. What you care about is the blueprint of the new thingamajig that you need and that you want to print for yourself, right? So companies, individuals who are innovators and investors, and people who still have money and who are still working under that old system and not just fully subsidized by the government, the have, instead of having, that's a good way to see it. I'm just thinking, in this system, instead of the current system where you have haves and have-nots, what I see, or what I hope for, is a system where you have haves and have-mores. And yes, you might be a bit jealous of the have-more, just like right now you're jealous of the Elon Musk or the celebrity of your choice, or whoever it is who has more than you, right? But still, at least you will have, as opposed to have not, and they will just have more, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, so people will start to, perhaps, I see several ways this could go. For example, there could be ways to purchase blueprints directly on an individual basis. There could be subscription-based model where you subscribe to a certain service, and that service has all the most recent patents from Samsung. Or you can subscribe to Apple and have access to all the most recent patents from Apple. Or it could be in categories, right? You could subscribe to a company that sells all the patents for, I don't know, home improvement tools, and then you have access to all of that. Anyway, you get, or by an individual basis, etc. And the haves will be able to buy these things, which will also again finance innovation, right? By putting their dollar where their mouth is, or their anyway. I'm struggling to find the words, but basically by investing, it's kind of more of a return to truer capitalism than crony capitalism right now, because the way I see it, patents need to be shortened in order to drive innovation. So yes, we need to protect intellectual property, but the world is getting so small, everything is getting so fast, and especially with AI, innovation rate will grow exponentially, and having patents last so long will not be conducive to humans progressing as fast as they could. So how about we again let go of the greed? As I've said many times before, you might see that's kind of a theme with me. Let go of the greed and shorten the duration of patents so that those who do innovate can still be ahead of the curve, but that the curve is not artificially so far behind them. And then what would happen is that by patents being of a shorter duration than the generic versions of whatever was paid for by the haves and designed by the innovators will become available to everyone shortly thereafter. I don't know what time frame, you know what I mean? Like, is it 2 years, 10 years? Doesn't really matter. The point is that everyone will get access to quote unquote everything eventually, and be able to print or to manufacture or to create whatever they need, whatever is most important to them on the spot. And that is really how you get there. Because again, the patents will drive the innovation, and then those subscription services, all that, all those big technology houses will still exist. And at a certain, oh shit. Okay, let's go this way, girls. Sorry, camera probably recorded bad word, but I saw another dog, and again, normally we're always alone. So let's go this way. So the patents, what was I saying? Yeah, patents and blueprints will become the new thing of value, right? We'll have no more need for money, really, although we will continue to use it for a while, because humans will need a lot of time to adapt. We're not the most adaptive of species, I'll say. Even though we could be, people tend to be very opinionated and stuck in their ways. Oh, it's so dark here. Oof. Not sure the camera will record anything. Let's test the night mode on the Samsung. So, yeah, that's how we're gonna slowly transition to the point where we're in an economy where really everyone can have whatever they need or they want. So at a certain point, maybe we'll even get rid of these patent protections and just make any and all blueprints available to everyone at any time that they need it. That's way far in the future, and there will still be limitations, right? Because there's only so much gold on the earth, there's only so much land, so it's not like everyone will have exactly the same. I'm not talking about a communist utopia, although in the communist utopia you need workers, and that's a bit outdated, I think, and I'm sure that Marx and the gang would never have predicted a world where the robota are not people, and that people don't have to work and can live like the kings and nobility, and that he was railing against, but everyone being there. It just will take a bit of time to get there. Anyway, again with the divergence or the aside, rambling too much. I think hopefully you can follow sort of the transition to that idyllic system that I had described 2 episodes ago now, and that transition makes sense to you. Ideally, humans will be self-motivated and will still be able to contribute to the creation of new patents and all that, But honestly, between you and me, I'm pretty certain I'd put my hand to the fire that by the time we have 3D printing that can print, as I mentioned, at the scale that we want and the materials that we want, and that we have, the ability to get all the energy that we need and all that, AI will have so far surpassed us that it will be innovating on our behalf. And humans can be as lazy as they want, or those of us who are a little bit more motivated can pursue their interests. Right? You can spend your life being a scientist, or aiming to be an astronaut, or studying rocks, or creating art, or whatever, teaching karate, whatever you want, because you will not have to spend your time trying to accumulate money. Anyway, all of this to loop it back and close it down, and sorry it's very dark. You probably can't see anything. But I've been talking in circles, and all of this nice world could be ours, but only if the current haves let go of a part of their greed. But most importantly, our culture changes the way it sees the economy. I find it completely crazy, and I swear this little philosophical rant will be the close of this topic until I do the summary combining all three that I had mentioned before. I find it crazy that when you think about it, our best idea, our best economic system is based on the premise that humans must behave, that we must all behave like viruses. What do shareholders want in the stock market? What does every company continually aim for? What is the measure of the success of any private enterprise in our company, in our country, or in our economy? It's growth. Everything always just wants to grow at the detriment, in many cases. Obviously, it's not always a zero-sum game, but in many cases it is, right? Whoever buys a Coke isn't buying a Pepsi, isn't buying a mom-and-pop shop soda, right? So in many cases, it's a zero-sum game, but everyone is just jockeying for growth. Everyone tries to be, acts like a virus. Our entire economy, yes, it's based on stuff like the service. What do you see, Daisy? I don't see anything. Oh dear. That's not a squirrel bark. Okay. Let's keep our eyes open. Mistra might also bolt. So yeah, as I was saying, yes, our North American economy is based on the service sector and on entertainment and innovation and all that stuff, but at the root, I don't think anyone can argue that all of that is based on consumerism, right? When are we in a recession? How do we get out of a recession? If you ask the news pundits, it's all about increasing consumer spending, right? And when consumer spending is down, the economy's going bad. And when people spend and buy more stuff that they don't need, the economy's good. And so everyone should buy a 6th car and a 12th TV, right? Could do it for the economy and to keep up with the Joneses. It just boggles my mind that the supposed most advanced species on the planet cannot learn to behave in any other way than the most primitive, one of the most primitive that remains, right? Viruses don't even have DNA, or many viruses at least, I'm going to say, because there might be some that do, but from what I remember from biology, viruses are RNA, they're pre-DNA. Yet that's how we behave. Why can't we behave like more evolved animals who have learned to live in harmony and in equilibrium with their environment? Why must we always seek infinite growth? It's time for us to grow up, to mature, to start to consider the good of our entire colony, our entire species. Time to increase our in-group, expand it, make everything better for everyone, not just for yourself. Stop just looking at the quarterly return of your company or of your investment. Start to look at the long term. I know I'm being very preachy, but really, I think it's the only way we can get there. And we can choose to get there, but there's a lot of hoops we need to go through. And it needs a lot of effort to get there. And unfortunately, most people, in my experience at least, a lot of effort is not their strong suit, I'll say. Alright? It takes a lot of effort to stay in shape. A lot more than to eat a pizza. It takes a lot of effort to learn something new. A lot more than to watch reality TV. It takes a lot of effort to watch an hour-long documentary. A lot more than to scroll TikTok, right? So, it's just sad. Very, very sad. We need to grow up. But I doubt that we will. So, that being said, I really hope that I'm wrong. Well, on that note, I think I've talked circles a lot, around in circles too much. Let me know what you think. Again, leave, comment, subscribe, etc. All that good stuff. And as mentioned, once I've had time to digest all 4 of these videos, I will be eventually making a summary to recap, to combine everything together. So please look forward to that. In the meantime, thanks for listening and have a good one.